Okay, episode 2.
Episode 2, it's daylight. Hooray. I'm Kate Dibbleby, and this is Ru Hao, and welcome to Pluribusters, our show in which we comment on Pluribus as it unfolds. I don't know anything about anything, sci-fi or otherwise, for some obvious reasons, due to my... Well, no, we'll go into that later. And Ru is a massive film geek, nerd, innovator. And this is coming to you from stornoway.io, the Make Anything interactive app. So here we go. Let's go. We've had more listens than we thought we were going to get.
Yeah, it has been, we thought we were going to get half a dozen.
Yeah.
And I guess searching people, hello everybody.
Hello.
Who we don't know. Hello, people who are not our family and friends.
I mean, we literally started this not really knowing that. And so it's been very nice to get good feedback. And later on in the episode, we're going to go into the feedback we've got and questions. If you do have any feedback and questions, which watching, now we're on episode 2, you're going to have it. Please put comments in Spotify. Email us at hello@pluribusters.com.
Exactly, and comments on Spotify and on Apple. In fact, rating us on Apple and reviewing on Apple will help more people find us, and we might go from dozens or even scores to possibly
We'll make a little
hundreds.
community. Are we going to be the us, or are we going to be the remaining ones on Earth? That's the question.
I think we're going to be...
The
I don't know,
remaining
who
ones.
are we?
I feel like we are I feel we're Carol, and it's not just.
Wait, what are you talking about? Us, you and me?
No, like I'm diving straight in,
Okay,
man.
good.
The
All
pirate lady, from now on, from the episode 1, we were seeing everything through Carol,
Yeah.
and actually, episode 2 starts not with Carol. I thought it was Carol because the hair's quite similar.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
It's just dark, so I was like, oh, why is Carol in the Levant?
But she, and to kind of dive straight into listener emails.
Yes.
Or listener WhatsApps. Amanda said she's like Jesus coming out from the desert.
Yes.
It's in the Levant. So you start seeing a lorry that says Laiterie de Doron.
Which I didn't see.
Check
I
that.
never
So
spot those kind of
it's
things.
in the Holy Land broadly.
Yeah.
And that part of the Mediterranean. And
Which obviously feels pretty potent
She
at
turns
this
up-
moment in time.
sort of bloodied and dusted and dirty and wearing a biblical looking robe.
Pulling out a dead body, I think, is one of the first thing that happens.
Yeah.
But done with kind of grace and...
The silence,
Calm.
the silent movie thing where everybody's coordinated because
Yeah.
they're not having to talk.
Yeah.
So it's this choreography, and we might get onto the actual choreography of the production later, but the choreography of everybody talking and nobody having to... No social niceties.
Yes.
Nothing else.
And let's face it, normally if you see a bloodied woman in a robe in most films, there will be a significant amount of kind of, and then and then some man will come in
Yeah.
and help her.
Again,
And
you haven't seen enough science fiction and horror with women who are bloodied, who are not...
That's true. But maybe they'd be evil. Whereas she's just none of those things.
No, it's true. It
She's
is a
just
different... it's got a different feel.
sailing through,
Yeah.
which I think is... Amanda, again, also said, you do not know what's going to happen next in
Yes.
this
Yeah.
episode.
So I think as a kind of, from a storytelling point of view, from a kind of structural point of view, the beauty of that opening sequence is they're telling you an enormous amount of information without any words spoken. She emerges. They are cleaning up the bodies, so you learn that they're clearing up the bodies. You learn that it's happening all over the world, and then that they're able to communicate without talking. And then she goes to that incredible sequence where she gets in the cargo plane and takes off, and through her being there and the other woman being there, you're like, okay, so everybody is as clever as everybody else in the world, because everybody is a fighter, everybody is a cargo plane pilot,
And they
everybody
know
is a
they're,
surgeon,
the most
everybody is a
professional.
yes.
And I think what I mean about her not going ooh is that again, it's usually remarkable if a woman's flying a fighter plane.
Right.
Whereas there's just something about the way she does
the
it.
stillness, the chillness of that.
And she's just
it turns out.
And then also the way it takes off. Actually, that's the second
Oh
time.
no! Yeah, no, that's when she takes off from wherever she is.
Yeah.
It takes off over the people on the runway.
Yeah, it's
Well,
very,
sorry,
very
I interrupted
cool.
you. Were you
Well,
gonna
no,
say?
it's just again that kind of ease in which, and also we know from that moment we're being told this is a world without fear, a world
Right.
without reaction.
Yeah.
Like no one is reacting apart from they just gently put their hands over their ears. No one's going, oh my god,
There's a plane taking off over.
Again,
Because they all know.
And now we need to come straight into the fact that you told me, because we watched this yesterday.
2 days ago. In fact, we watched it Friday night, and we decided to wait a day and a bit. We had a busy day yesterday, but we decided to wait a little while before recording this so that we could percolate our thoughts, but also because people are writing to us, and Amanda, who's my sister, is like written screeds of WhatsApps. She's thinking about this very
it's clearly already
deeply.
getting everyone thinking, but I think it's really interesting to return to Vince Gilligan, his original conceit for this, because I think it plays into...
This might be a good point to say, just to recommend to you all, if you're watching this, you should also listen to the Insider podcast, which is flagged up at the beginning of the episode, which is the thing that they made for Breaking Bad and then for Better Call Saul, the same team, and that they've done for this, where they get the director, the actors, the people who made the show, and it's a very different thing from this because we're doing a reaction having seen it from the first time, but they're like talking about the insanely collaborative, technically brilliant way in which they go about making this show.
And just to again follow my stereotype preconceptions of why I never watch sci-fi with you, like this team are predominantly female, which was a surprise to me.
Well, on the pretty much all of the people, the editor who's hosting it, and then it's all talked about being Vince Gilligan's show, but actually it's an incredibly collaborative exercise with a largely female team.
Yeah, so suddenly, I don't know, just the reasons for this world. But what I wanted to ask you was, so there's an interesting thing about Vince Gilligan conceived of the show when he was making Breaking Bad 8 years ago.
Better Call Saul, I think, yeah.
But and his first idea of it was a male protagonist.
Yeah, it was a wish fulfillment, a fantasy. So you listened to the first episode of the Pluribus Insider podcast, and he talks about how he was out on a walk and he came up with a wish fulfillment fantasy of a guy who everybody was suddenly very, what did he say, solicitous, and we could grant him whatever he wanted, and that idea got very old very quickly. He said it got very porny very quick.
Yes.
And
so I think it's so interesting when we come back to watching this episode, like we are asking those questions of like, are these people like tranquilized? Are they blissful? Are they unaware? And I think through episode 2, you realize that they actually just, like you say, they just know enough that they're not kind of worried about stuff. They're not like acting out of panic.
I mean, I think I'm
identity.
interested to hear again on the Insider podcast that you get the sense that even after series 1, and I think they've had 2 series booked of this show straight off. And I think that maybe not in such a chaotic way as Lost didn't figure out what's going on, but I think they themselves as writers, they still don't know the full depth of this world that they've created and what's really going on and I guess the other thing that's a useful shorthand that they've given us is that they call them the others.
Yes.
And what do they call the people who are the humans who still have their own minds? The old schoolers.
The old schoolers.
And
and I guess Ray, the actress playing Carol, like watching her trying to understand what's going on with us. That's what we're doing too, right? And I found myself, I'm going to skip right forward to the bit in Spain, but when they're sitting around the table in Spain, I found myself like examining the faces to kind of go, wait, are you one of the others? Are you,
right.
And I think...
And to see how they were reacting differently because it's all very carefully controlled and choreographed. He talks about how like they did, dozens and dozens of setups because he never likes to repeat the same shot twice. So they shot that lunch scene over 4 days.
Yes.
Every single performance and every single person there is doing something. It's not just accidental, right?
Yes.
So you do learn things from looking at those faces because none of it's just somebody like freelancing.
No, and it was interesting. He talking about the amazing extras who are a huge part of this in these first 2 episodes, and that idea of like coordinating their movements, but also taking care of them on set. Again, we don't want to go too much into what the official podcast is talking
interesting
about.
though, but no, it's interesting hearing what the intention of the creators is and then what we receive as viewers and what the experience is like when you watch it for the first time before you hear that. So I think our creative workflow here is going to be watching the show, having our reactions, and then probably maybe listening to the Insider podcast as well. So then we have a like multi-dimensional, that sounds fancy, reaction to it, where we're slightly thinking about not just what the show gives you, but what the intention of the makers gives you, and folding that into what our reaction is.
And
because
I'd
I think
like to
the
dive
creative
into what it's saying about the world right now, because I think I'm not even sure they knew what they were doing there. And you were saying to me, with sci-fi, there's a setup, isn't there? There's a setup of like the bigger questions around.
Well, I was
if
trying to
the world
convince
was
you,
like this, how would people act and how would it change?
You offset it in small or large ways, and I was saying to you that your question a couple of episodes ago about what isn't sci-fi always trashy. I was saying that often sci-fi, sometimes horror, but often sci-fi is actually playing with philosophical ideas much more freely and more interestingly than traditional drama that's based in the real world, because the real world works with all these constraints, and actually in worlds where you've changed what the social norms are, or the rules, or what people are, or us talking to machines, and all of the kind of philosophical things that we're now actually having to deal with literally in our day-to-day lives, where we are actually talking to machines. All of that stuff has been being unpacked by very, very clever writers for a very long time. A large number of those writers are men, and there was an enormous amount of blind spots around that writing for a long period of time. But then there were also some really notable examples of sci-fi with very powerful female protagonists, but often directed and written by men. And this is the interesting thing about this is, like, I think a really important...
Everybody is playing a part.
That you've talked about a lot, that we both had this reaction to, that Amanda's talked about, that I'm sure a lot of you out there are thinking about this.
And my brother was saying gender was like one of the biggest things that came up.
Gender's a huge reaction to this episode of like...
Who's doing what for whom?
Right.
And Casanova McBona, who comes in at the end with his harem, and that very symbolic moment of him and his harem going on to Air Force One, and for me, again jumping to the end, the moment between Pirate Lady and Carol, where they're looking at each other. Again, for me, it's like I'm getting the female gaze here. What I'm getting not just Carol going, oh my God, this world's gone mad, a middle-aged woman looking at the world around her, but also I'm getting a woman who's playing a part in this other stereotype, kind of basically they're trying to connect with each other. That feels very exciting to me, because that's not done very often, I don't think, in drama. I think there was something that there's something about the drama of it, and how they can, again, I would say usually with sci-fi, the reason I switch off, and I said this before, is the idea that I kind of know what the tropes are. They don't sort of feel relevant to me. The storytelling isn't catching me. There's something in this that you might speak to, because I do know, Sigourney Weaver is one of the amazing protagonists. Like, there's something around how do you get drama without it being really stereotypical kind of, we're going to blow this up, do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean?
I do exactly what you mean, I mean, I think I'm worried about you kicking the camera with your foot just before we carry on. But I think that...
Because a lot of this isn't dramatic in the traditional sense, right? We're sort of watching it play out.
I think it's about these performers, right? They've just got incredible actors who I mean, Carolina Vidra, who's playing Zocha, is like
what's her name?
Carolina Vidra. I have to say it in a funny voice because I can't pronounce it. Because I can't pronounce it. She's a Polish American actress, so Carolina Vidra, and
she's the pirate lady.
She's the pirate lady, and she is Zocha, and she is she's very watchable. In terms of her, like, it was interesting
because on one hand she presents like somebody from The Good Place, very blank. Again, where you're at which point you're kind of like, oh God, a blank, beautiful woman,
right,
staring and holding space.
Yeah, I didn't mean she's watchable for that reason.
No. But again, my reaction to that is like, oh, here we go again, and then suddenly there's all this nuance to her. this extraordinary
Her
way in
relationship
which
with
her relationship
Carol.
at the beginning with Carol, when Carol's digging the grave, and she's like watching over like a really good therapist, sort of just basically letting her do her thing, letting her act it out, and then do you want to say more about that?
I don't know that I should say more about it. I don't know what.
As the son of a therapist. What, no,
oh my God.
No,
there's
something about the way, again, maybe that's playing with drama, like the idea of people acting out. You know, in this episode, what we find out is that Carol kills people.
Yes.
Kills 11 million people when she acts it out.
Well, in that terrible moment where, at the end, Casanova McBona says to her, Carol, the last thing these people need is for you to lose your temper. I mean, that is just brutal. It is brutal. Like, on so many levels, that's brutal. But
and I think it's very, I mean, both of us are almost welling up thinking about it, because it is very, this moment in time where the world has gone crazy.
This does not feel like the end of the world to me.
Yes.
Like, fuck, this is literally what we're living through right now. And this show was conceived 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And just post-Trump getting into his first term, we've got this incredible final shot in the show of, we're jumping around everywhere, of her coming out and this woman coming out and stopping Air Force One, which has got a man with a harem in it.
Yeah.
On its way to Vegas.
Yeah.
And she stands there and stops the plane. I mean, like the thing about art like this, I think, and the same was true in Better Call Saul, the thing about this stuff, when you have this many people collaborating on the story and the production design and the kind of the possibilities it opens up, is that, like Lynch used to say, is like, actually, it's about what you as the viewer take from it, not what the creator has a whole bunch of intentions, but actually once it gets out there, once it gets loose, it's so filled with so much symbolism and so much kind of currency and so much zeitgeist that actually it's almost like you're just interpreting dreams looking at it. Like, everybody here there'll be a whole bunch of people listening to this going, why are they banging on about gender?
I know.
There'll be a whole bunch of people banging on about why.
I did check myself on that, and then I was like, well,
it's us reacting to it. You have other thoughts right into with.
I tell you what, I do want to dive into. Because I think collaboration is clearly how, I now understand why you've been so excited about this particular team making a new series, because it's clear that they have. I come from a theatre background. That level of trust that you get when you've collaborated with people for a long time in realising a world, making a world. So can you? What I was interested in was how they make the world. Firstly, budgets. Secondly, how do you choose a green screen rather than building?
Well, because I can talk about that till the cows come home, and then you can
I'd like to hear
have
some
that face that you feel when I'm
that.
But I think interesting from you hearing what they were talking about. I'm interested to hear your reactions about that first of all, because as a producer, performer, writer, creator, singer, like, you're much more in that world than I am on a regular basis.
And in our business, we're in this filmmaking world where everyone's saying everything can be done digitally now.
Right.
Let's do everything in virtual.
And the UK government's pouring tens of millions of pounds, hundreds of millions of pounds into virtual production studios, where you would create the worlds that they've created here in an Unreal, literally the software is called Unreal, background on a stage, and then you have the actors walking around talking to sticks in front of each other.
And my visceral, as a theatre maker, my visceral response to that is, well, how's that going to work? Because actually physical is important.
Right.
The world in which it's set is important. And yet I also realise there's a huge amount of waste in building great big sets and all this sort of stuff. But putting all of that aside, I think another episode we should definitely dive into, like how much would it cost to do it here and how much would it cost to do it here. But it feels to me like this team are committed to real world wherever they possibly can. Vince Gilligan said, I had that momentary thought of like, oh, that'll do. And then actually, no, they always push further. So there's a kind of real creative intent to like realize this world as. So, for example, where Carol lives, the audience are going, where is this?
Right.
And it could be totally made up, but it's not totally made up.
It could
it's
just
Albuquerque.
Yeah, absolutely. What you mean is generally is a setting.
Yeah.
It's very specifically Albuquerque.
Yeah. And it's like this desert place, but there's a woman wearing a jumper, which I was.
Yes, we both find this really confusing coming from England. Look, here we are with a harbour beside us. It's like when the sun's shining, it's hot.
Yes.
And when it's cloudy, it's cold.
Yes.
Well, if it's a desert, isn't it going to be hot? Like all of that stuff is, we're uninformed about these things. But you were trying to figure out
real.
Yes. But the literally the cul-de-sac that she lives in turns out, like I just assumed they'd found an incredible location, but it turns out they've built the entire cul-de-sac.
Yes.
And I think, when I said in the pre-episodes or last episode, I said maybe this is going to turn out to be a bit like a situation comedy.
Yes.
I think
with the neighbours?
I think quite a lot of it. I think where we might be going is knowing that they built this cul-de-sac.
Yes.
I think where we might be going is a lot of the action is going to take place in this little mini neighbourhood.
Yes.
Because they built all of these houses.
Yes.
And at enormous expense,
the children,
in detail.
Yes. And maybe there's something about the kind of neighbourhood world versus this insane, huge global world where everybody knows everything.
Right.
And that, coming back to that idea of the internet.
Yeah. They've done the thing of showing her going. I remember reading a review of Groundhog Day when it came out on Empire, and that Groundhog Day, obviously incredible, kind of iconic film about a time loop, kind of science fiction film about a time loop that has a guy, and the conceit of the thing is that the guy's stuck in a town and he's looping through the day and doing the same thing, having to see all the same things time and time again, but trying different ways of like playing through that to try and improve himself or get the girl, and he ends up going through a personal journey of discovery, but it's very funny. But I remember reading an Empire review of this by some very ungenerous Empire reviewer when it came out, and the guy was like, this is such a missed opportunity. Why didn't they have him going to space? Why didn't they have him? And I was just like, talk about missing the point. They've established the world and the fact that this is happening all around the world, and I think a lesser show wouldn't have done that. Breadth of like going to Spain.
Yeah, why did they start off
Levant.
in Levant?
Yeah,
exactly.
They've shown the world, and now they can bring it back down into Albuquerque.
Yes, because that's what we're going to care about.
And then the specific represents the general.
Oh, and that is why that moment when they're sitting at the table and there's the 11 and then the others. Or maybe it's when they first meet and Carol, and they're talking about their relatives and whether they've died,
right,
or whether they haven't. And Carol says, well, yours haven't died because look, they're here, but they're not them.
Yes.
And there's this whole idea. I think that thing of for us as an audience to
lost
care
them too.
About humans.
Yeah.
We have to get back into that micro.
I mean, there was some funny stuff around that.
Oh my God.
But also, I think you said, or maybe Amanda said, that, and again, I didn't pick up on this, but she doesn't say about her girlfriend. They are talking about what's happened with them, and the woman talks about losing her grandfather. Yeah. And she doesn't talk about her partner.
That felt very, for me,
she's
again,
still
having a little twitch, because that idea where she's still having to withhold her reality in front of these people, which has actually been where the
others all know everything, including all of Helen's thoughts and memories. They know everything about her through Helen's eyes. She doesn't need to come out. She hasn't come out publicly to the world.
Yes.
But she doesn't need to come out to the others because they all know and they don't care.
Yes.
But then you've got this small group of remaining humans, and she's still not talking about that thing that's her thing.
Well, and I think that is where this drama is going to come from, because at some level we have a world which is like a utopia where everybody is allowed to be whoever they are. We all know the backstory of everybody, so it's like, so we accept them as they are, and we accept that they have an ego that is like, I present as this person, but actually I'm part of the human consciousness. Versus Carol's sort of stuck in her ego, sort of, is it ego? Is it actual identity? It's like, that's for me, feels like where we're going to get some really interesting stuff. And there's a lot there. I feel like we've done like a kind of race course through,
and things like lovely moments, like laugh out loud moments.
Yes,
like all the way through. Every medical doctor in the world agrees. It's just an amazing moment of both storytelling and funny.
And it's the first time you see
and that's the opinion of every medical doctor on earth. So good.
I love that, and I wonder whether that came out in the writing room. It was that idea of if everybody knew everything, would, that's already our reality, right?
Yeah.
Is that we go to ChatGPT and we say blah blah blah, and it's like, well, the thing is, you need to know.
Yeah.
But it's like that times a million.
Yes.
This bottle of water was
But
made by.
It's the thing that Zuckerberg, that Facebook says about themselves, is, that Zuckerberg or somebody at Facebook said, I remember years ago, when this show was being first conceived,
Yes.
it was around the same time, when this show was being conceived,
Yes.
just at the same time as, when the show was first being conceived, at the same
Here
time
we're
as
getting to
Cambridge
the null.
Analytica.
Yes.
Right? So they would be changing elections in various different parts of the world by delivering personalised messages to people based on what they knew about what they voted for.
Yes.
And they were manipulating democracy by distorting reality for people. And then that was blown open and was a big scandal. But Facebook has carried on doing that. And Facebook are very proud of the fact that they think that they can predict how you vote or what you will buy or what you will think about any particular topic more than your spouse. They think they're proud of the fact that they know more about you than your partner.
Yeah.
And that is just like, they don't find that creepy in the same way as the others don't find that creepy.
Casanova is like,
This feels
this
like
is not the end of the world.
This feels great.
This is amazing.
This feels like wish
We
fulfillment.
can fly to the Guggenheim and be in Elvis Presley's suite.
I love that. What does she say when he says, "I will stay in Elvis Presley's suite"? And she's like, "That makes sense."
That checks.
So great. But I think that the others don't find that. They're just like, this is a beautiful paradise, and
Yes.
and all. I think
And
to the idea that Facebook knows. I mean, it doesn't now because I've left it a long time ago. We're going to put this show on it, but I try not to put my own personal information into Facebook since 2016 or so. But since the idea that it thinks that it knows more about me and what I like and want than you.
Yes.
When I've spent 25 years with you is just
also, I don't
insane.
know anything that you like or want, obviously. Right. No, I mean, like as in the nature of relationship. The reason relationship is exciting and why you'd want to continue a long-term relationship is because actually it is not a series of facts about someone that then stay put. And you go, well, now I know that Rupert likes blah,
That's
blah, blah.
so interesting. So my argument on this was going to be like, of course Facebook doesn't know more about me than you. But your argument is, yeah, Facebook does know more about you. But that still misses the point. Yes, and still is nothing about our relationship and what,
Yeah. And I think that's something that Carol is trying to understand. Is like, actually, what is it about this? And again, the genius of that is that the form of storytelling they're taking, where Vince Gilligan talks about surprising people at every turn. Again, that is one of the beautiful things about humans, is they continue, even though you think they're one thing, you think they hate sci-fi. And look, suddenly there they are, engaged because something has shifted in a kind of way around them. I love the way I brought that back to me.
There's a thing that happens in, just to kind of move it back onto sort of plot-based things.
Henry said that he wants to hear more geeky facts from you.
Okay, I'll go into some of that for a bit. Just while we're doing technical stuff, if you don't that's the microphone, so if you don't clunk the phone down on there, then it will.
Are you going to edit that out? No,
I'm going to leave that in because it's just part of the magic. It's part of the magic of showbiz. I think that, what was I going to say? In all of these kind of things where there's some sort of invasion or some sort of takeover, there's a flaw. Apart from, we'll come back to Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but but where anyway, in those shows where something is overcome, there's a kind of tragic flaw or a specific flaw in whether it's the Matrix or whether it's the aliens in War of the Worlds, kind of origin story for all of this, H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds, and they're infected, they're vulnerable to infection, so they catch a virus or a bacteria or something. I can't remember.
So there's something that's going to stop the utopia. Exactly,
and there's a moment in at the end of this episode where Zocha says, and she's been watching Carol, like you can see her just watching Carol out the corner of her eye, worried, like a worried parent.
Yeah.
Like worried about her freaking out, but also wanting her to be happy.
Yeah.
And you can see her say,
because at the fun day, they can't make no one can be unhappy.
She says, make a choice. Carol says, you need to decide. If you know the square root of all of this, you need to decide. And Zocha says, we can't decide for you because if I decide, it'll hurt one of you, and we can't do that. That and Vince talked about how you can't find drama in happiness.
Yes.
Like, that's why he couldn't do his wish fulfillment idea, thank God.
Yeah.
But this thing, like, where do you find the drama? Is the
Yes.
idea that there's not only can she not express her true anger about this situation without killing millions of people.
Yes.
The other side, they can't resolve the fact that they can't do anything to make her unhappy.
Which is that total lack of responsibility.
Right.
Which is the kind of, well, we're just giving all the facts here.
Seal.
We're not. We don't have to like. Yeah.
And Casanova's proof that they're not brain dead. She says, they're all brain dead automatons or something.
Yeah.
And his proof of that is, give me the square root of this big number, which is your absolute always pet peeve about like trying to prove somebody's clever by showing some sort of scientific or mathematical fact. It's perfect.
Oh my God. And we just need to briefly touch on the fact that, there's so much, as Carol's trying to figure out who everyone was, there's that brilliant moment with the little boy at the table.
Oh, incredible. So funny. It's so
which
funny,
is about
this
his
show.
speculum as well.
Yes.
And also the fact that she's interested in
Yes.
talking about that rather than the square root.
Yes, absolutely. The mother's face when she's doing it, so fantastic. The
How long have we been talking? Do we need to
probably
go into
talking.
some
It's fine. Let's go to listener emails.
So it slightly teases the thing you were saying about the flaw. There's always a flaw. Henry said, "Has there ever been a zombie movie where people are happy?"
Yeah, I think there's been so
Quite a
the
lot.
brilliant thing about I think all of this stuff is that almost every type of scenario has been thought about and played with.
Yeah.
In a book, in a movie, sometimes in other formats, and they are. But the way that each individual specific thing, even when it's reinterpretations of things like War of the Worlds, every time something different and current is brought to it, and the talent of the specific team and the collaboration nature of that team will bring richness to it or not. So there was a show with Drew Barrymore that got cut short on Netflix called The Santa Clarita Diet, and it was the idea of this housewife who is living a really conformist life in California, and then she somehow becomes a zombie, and she becomes liberated through her, like she can suddenly express herself, and like her zombie self is she needs to feed on flesh, unfortunately, and her husband finds ways to solve that. That's the flaw.
Okay,
but so I don't know. I never saw much of that. I think I saw one episode of that and then didn't carry on watching it. But I presume they were trying to explore some of the similar things. And then there's things like Shaun of the Dead, where the end of spoiler alert for Shaun of the Dead, which is a great film. The end of Shaun of the Dead, he's like got his mate in his shed playing video games as a zombie.
Yes.
But there are a whole bunch of different ways in which people have played with the
in
idea
a way,
of
this form is like an improvisation game in a theatre.
Yes.
Like it's basically setting a set of rules and then we push it as far as we can. What I understand from having talked to you about the way that film has developed and TV series have developed is that actually actors are getting more agency in TV and film. And therefore, when we talk about this collaboration, it's like micro collaboration of an actor on set being able to ask questions that then affect the storytelling.
Maybe. I think it's hard to know from outside the industry, but you get the impression from listening again to the Better Call Saul Insider podcast and this one is that it's unusual.
Yes.
The level of collaboration, prep, trust that they have for each other to do that is unusual in this show.
Yes, because they don't know what their world. They don't know this world they're creating, and it starts with Sorry, have I taken you off tack?
We were just going to talk about sci-fi. I think it's fun, but it's interesting.
Well, I guess sci-fi as a newbie, understanding the kind of world building aspect. Also, because I'm not a gamer, so for me that whole and again. I'm not a gamer because the worlds that are built don't tend to include many middle-aged women or anything that I understand.
Right. Yeah.
And there's a lot of bashing and killing, which you know, as we know.
I mean, as I showed you from the stats the other day.
Yes.
50% of all gamers are women.
Yes.
Over 50% in America.
They don't play killing games.
Well, they play in all sorts of different things, but it's interesting what the most popular games are. I think I wouldn't take any. I know it feels like a justification of why you don't do gaming.
Yes.
But lots of women, like the people in our team, play games.
That's true.
And they play all kinds of different games, and they're interested in. there is definitely a divide, but I think, as with all stereotypes, there's a challenging.
And I've just had to take a stance because, you know, in any couple, you have to go in a direction.
Yeah. But you just fundamentally, you just never. I grew up with video games. I grew up with video games since I was 7 or 8 years old, and I love them.
Story, and I think that's why we're doing.
Well, I also grew up with story, but you didn't. Your brother was into the video games,
yes.
And there's the whole history that we definitely haven't got time to go into here, which is from 1984. Before 1984, the majority of computer scientists were women.
Yes.
When the desktop computers got released, in the early 80s, they were being marketed to boys in the same way as dolls were being marketed to girls.
Yes.
Boys picked it up, and certain types of boys went, and then they turned up to computer science classes at universities in the mid 80s, and they suddenly knew massive amounts. It used to be that everybody would turn up at the same level, and it was a very female science, and then suddenly boys were turning up through the types of games that were being made for them, and the fact that they were being sold these programming computers, and suddenly all the women turned up, and they all left the computer science departments in droves because they were surrounded by these horrible. Well, not horrible, but they were surrounded by this horrible atmosphere of these men fact-shaming them,
Fact-shaming.
And that's when it... fact-shaming. Or, you know, they're competitive. Suddenly they were just in a competitive environment, and there are other things that we won't go into around that. But coming back to the question about sci-fi stuff, for instance, coming back to Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which was a 50s film, Carol references Pod People in this. The Pod People were from the Invasion of the Body Snatchers. There was a 50s version of that was incredible, and a 70s version of that, also incredible. And it was the idea that suddenly everybody would wake up changed, and they were happy and peaceful, and they all wanted you to join them. This is very similar to this.
Yes.
And they had been infected by an alien sort of pod landing from space, and then in fact they sort of absorbed each other. And the 70s one has Donald Sutherland and Leonard Nimoy, who played Spock. And they have these speeches in them, like the 50s one has a fantastic speech in it about how there's no need for pain or love or sadness or happiness anymore. Everything is just much better when you just don't have any emotions. And of course the protagonists are like struggling against this in both those films and being like, that's a horror, very much like this. Those films, one of those films, I won't spoil which one of those films ends in a very dystopian way. And Henry wrote in and said what would happen if you got to the end of, okay, spoiler alert for the 1978 one. You got to the end of the movie and Donald Sutherland thinks he's getting to the White House to kind of, I think to Washington to raise the alarm, and no, it's I've got it wrong because it's years since I've seen it, but I think the other woman, and anyway, there's a tale that the zombies have, and you suddenly find out that the kind of one of the main characters is a zombie at the end of the movie, is a pod person at the end of the movie in a really horrific way. And what Henry was saying is, what would have happened if there'd been like loving instead of scary, right? Is that what he was asking, I think?
Yeah, he was.
And so the worlds in those things end with the sort of the predicament that this show starts with, which is, what do you do beyond this? And those films basically all cover, because they're films, they cover what happens in the first episode, more or less. And then they don't take on, how do you fix the world? They end up with, like, everything's screwed and it's all hopeless.
And also there's something about the us.
Yes.
Where the us are sort of homogenous. And like, I think I talked about in the first episode, it has a Greek chorus.
Often in sci-fi, that Greek chorus, that us, like it is here, is pitched by them, not as a horror thing, but as a cultish. We're happy, join us. I mean, we know some people from cults, and in our lives, and the presentation that they give is very we, us.
And there's that kind of open-eyed, why would you behave like that?
Exactly.
When you can have access to such place?
And the visceral reaction when you're outside the cult, when you're not like looking for something, is absolutely, but also like like it's unsettling. It's really unsettling. Little rookie error there. I had forgotten to fully recharge the 360 camera battery, so it died. I also forgot to press record on the audio. This is how we learn the thing. So the audio is coming from the camera, not from the microphone.
And also, we have had a request to have a live 360 stream.
A live 360 stream,
which we might do.
We can look around the harbour. Yes, I don't know. We can do a 360 stream at the moment. We might need to fix that in Stornoway. Not fix it, but add it in Stornoway, because I don't think it's possible to do at the moment. But
let's put that technical feature in, because you know what? We're collaborative and a female-led team.
That's right.
So I wanted to. It's very interesting because I feel like this whole thing has been me as a Luddite trying to understand both the form and excited by the psychological level of what's being played out.
A lot of this in these early episodes in a way that we may not get into this level of depth in the later episodes.
Yeah, exactly. And I do apologise to any.
You don't need to apologise.
Well, no, but people who are like, have watched a lot of these kind of movies, I feel like I am like the kind of baby in the room.
That's good. There's no answer to that. And it's like with anything, you need to have if both of us knew everything about everything like us, we wouldn't
How
we are.
How boring would that be?
We wouldn't have to communicate. There'd be nothing to talk about. We just sit here going this.
Yeah, do you think it'd be quite peaceful?
I don't know. We wouldn't be asking that. We'd just be doing it mentally. I mean,
how would we choose which bit of information to access?
I don't know. I think what Amanda said, again, she's getting a lot of airtime.
She's the third person in the room.
She is.
She's over in Vancouver Island. She's got access.
She said the silence is really interesting, but imagine what it's like inside their heads. Like, what's the sound of them? What's the mental sound of them all communicating? Like, if everybody in the world is communicating with each other instantly, what does that sound like? I think
that they don't know. You know how me and our daughter, who I'm not going to name because, I don't know, privacy stuff.
Yeah.
You know how sometimes, like, I'll pick up the phone and she'll have thought something, like that whole telepathic thing that happens. That's what I think's happening.
You think it's not words?
I don't think they're hearing words. I think they're just like, oh, and here I am doing this.
They just know.
They're doing what, let's face it, like in all the self-help books and kind of well-being medicine that we're being foisted, they're doing this thing of living in the moment and just like moving through it and not worrying about, like, they're just like, oh, I happen to be in the Guggenheim now, and now I'm on Air Force One, and but I think that's what we're gonna get to kind of dig around in the next few episodes, because actually, what is that, and where is free will in all of that? Like, what is free will in all of that? If everything's predetermined and everyone's just like moving through because, hey, things happen for a reason, man.
Yeah. Well, just like on that note, Amanda's saying, yes. Other than that, she's saying, how will you choose what to talk about and what not to talk about? Oh, she's saying that to us. Thinking about what it's like. I'm finding there's
a lot of layers.
I love that moment. When the pirate lady's about to get into the plane to become a sex object, so many layers. Carol is vocalizing what so many women vocalize, that women can make their own choices, but she is totally dodging her own choice in that. She's willfully ignoring all the factors that make it impossible for the pirate woman to make another choice.
Her own choice.
It's classic.
And also, she's the pirate woman. Let's remember, the pirate woman is the original Raban, is the original.
She says another
character.
crux moment where the pirate woman would yet again become a sex object, as happens in Carol's books. The French guy is just like her male protagonist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know when they started writing this series, but its timing is needed now more than ever with the backlash of bro culture against women. Interesting. Yeah.
Should we take a pause? And
the convo between Carol and Helen, the 3-time denial about Raban and George Clooney, is also when the world as we know it ends.
Yes.
Interesting fact about Carolina Vidra is that her first job, when she's saying, no, say it's George Clooney. No, say it's George Clooney in that first episode.
So she's the actress who plays...
Carolina Vidra, who plays Zotcha. Her first gig is acting in a commercial with George Clooney, where she was like a fantasy woman talking about coffee being really rich and delicious, and George Clooney's like, are you talking about me or espresso?
I think we need to wrap up.
Okay, a couple more. We got to get people to hear people's voices. I'm curious about the impact of her rage. It's interesting. Her rage killed 11 million people. That's a very old message for women.
Yes.
I'm curious about it. It rings true on a psychic level, but it's complex.
Yes. No, I think that's the big thing of like, I'm having 1 trillion conversations with women of a certain age right now about, like, in fact, I had one this week.
Yeah.
Me and my friend both just restarted therapy. Both of us saying,
hey, me too.
We're feeling all this rage.
Yeah.
And we were both experimenting with what happened if we didn't act out the rage. Like, if we just kind of allowed things to be, let people be who they are, let people in the way that Zosha does, you know, just, and we were we persuaded each other that was a good way to go rather than try to change things. So I think let's review that after episode 3.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to say any more about? Yeah, we can review it maybe in other episodes.
What you're finding yourself if you're acting out is you are always acting out in the paradigm that you're living in, and therefore you are, like Carol, you hurt yourself sometimes by doing that. I mean, in Carol's case, she's hurting other people.
Right.
So I think there's something...
But also therefore herself. I mean, she's so horrified by what she's done.
Yeah.
Are you saying it's a series about the menopause?
Well, you know, the image feels very timely.
Right.
And the reason I love the fact that I'm doing this podcast with you is because I know that, like, we've spent a lot of our relationship talking about how problematic it is for men and women to be living in this paradigm.
Yeah. And
how we find a dialogue to talk about it that doesn't immediately other each other. And
right.
And now I'm thinking we're just going to sit in silence and it's going to be beautiful. The problem is who created the silence? Where did it come from? Where did the virus come from? Is it AI?
Answers on a postcard. Yes, that's a good question. Did you notice her moving? You asked about this. Did you notice her moving Diana Gabaldon and all her sexist historical stuff in Outlander to the bottom shelf? I thought it was symbolic in retrospect when we found out that Raban should have been a woman. It was also a move over We're Here. From some people that we don't know.
Oh.
Madder Sounds on YouTube. Yeah. Great vid. We'll be coming back for more. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Madder Sounds.
And Richard...
where do you get all these?
This is comments on Spotify. Richard Bristolovic, which is Richard B, said, hilarious proposition for an episode, especially for two such busy people. Have never heard of Pluribus, not seen Better Call Saul, and never finished Breaking Bad, which puts me in the cake camp on this one, despite my Rue-like nerdishness. Looking forward to more. Might even not watch the program itself for a properly random experience.
Somebody else said that to me, and I'm like, no, this will not be interesting. Okay, we're going to wrap up now.
Okay, thank you so much, everybody.
Anyway, this is what I do in our company, is that we have meetings, we try and make things happen, and I'm like, and we're going to wrap up now, Rue.
Yeah.
But I'm very grateful for you to bringing in all those voices into the room. I hope we have more of them. We're not drinking whiskey because it's Sunday morning. Yeah. And goodbye from Bristol. See you soon. Friday night. Friday night is the next episode.
Oh yeah, we've got to wait a week. It's called. We do know what it's called because I saw it on the thing.
What?
But I can't remember.
Okay, cool.
We'll see.
Okay.
Oh, remember to rate us, follow us, review. Please follow us on the platforms and help us find more people. And see you next week.
I'm feeling such a happy song, just singing and laughing and playing my day along. And oh, why don't you sing along with me? Why don't you sing? You'll see. You're gonna be happy, 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 happy.